Welcome to the ParentNet podcast by Focus on the Family Singapore. In each episode, we will be speaking with everyday parents and practitioners as they share with us gems from their parenthood journey. Keep tuning in to learn with us as we figure it out together.
Hello and welcome to the ParentNet podcast. My name is June and I'm your host for this episode. If you are familiar with constant negotiations, spirited debates, and a child who always has to have the last word, you are not alone. Strong-willed children often possess incredible leadership qualities, resilience, and creativity, but guiding their energy can sometimes feel like trying to tame a tornado. In this episode, we'll explore how to nurture your child's strong will without crushing their spirit. We'll explore helpful strategies to help you foster cooperation with your child while strengthening your bond. And for today's episode, I'm really excited to welcome Sue Ann, a personal friend of mine and a wonderful mother to 4 boys aged between 6 to 14. She has been married for 15 years. Welcome to the ParentNet podcast, Sue.
Thank you, June.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Could you start by sharing a little fun fact about yourself or your family?
Well, like you said, I've got 4 boys, and the fun fact is that the first letter of each of their names spell the word N-E-A-T, neat. But actually, we're a super duper messy family with toys all over the floor.
I can imagine, with 4 boys, it'll be hard to keep your house neat and tidy all the time. But thanks for being vulnerable. So to help set the stage for our conversation today, I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit more about your strong-willed child and to help us flesh out what are some of the key traits that we can look out for.
Well, so one of the times when I started thinking that, maybe my child might be a spirited or strong-willed child was when he started going for swim class. So he asked to attend this swim class, and so we started it. But once in a while, he'll suddenly refuse to attend the class. He'll just say, no, I don't want to attend the class. You cannot bribe him, you cannot threaten him, you cannot reason with him. He will just say no. Or another instance was when he was younger, we'll be at the playground and he'll be playing happily with neighbors and strangers. And suddenly he'll have a huge meltdown. And meltdowns with kids are normal, right? But he'll be crying, he'll be shouting, he'll be sobbing uncontrollably. And again, you cannot really reason with him. Sometimes he can tell you what it's about, sometimes he can't even. And you find that actually nothing works. So one of the words that is sometimes used to describe strong-willed children is just the word more. They are intense. Children are intense, but strong-willed children are more intense.
Right.
They may be sensitive, but strong-willed children can be more sensitive. Kids are already naturally a little bit stubborn, but strong-willed children are just that much more stubborn. And, they just don't do what they are told most of the time. And if you're listening to this and you're wondering, is my child a strong-willed child? Well, if you're wondering, probably the answer is yes.
So if you're even asking that question, then it's quite likely that your child might be a spirited child, right? And earlier you mentioned the sudden and unexplainable resistance to attending swim class and also sudden meltdowns and very often off the charts, harder to calm down. So I guess these are some of the common struggles that parents of strong-willed children might face. Are there others that you have seen or come across in your own parenting journey?
What you see here is the uncontrolled behavior of the child. For my own kids, it's there can be a range from meltdowns to throwing tables, throwing chairs, just uncontrollable behavior, or even bullying among the siblings. Sometimes it happens.
Right.
Or another struggle would be power struggles between me and the child. You are caught in a deadlock. He wants his way and I want my way. And you're caught. It's a struggle and there's no resolution that you can find. And I think the last struggle is a very real and a sensitive one, because with social media, everyone posts happy pictures of their family smiling, playground pictures, award ceremonies, and it amplifies good parenting. And so when your child doesn't behave the way that you think in your mind children ought to behave, you feel a deep sense of self-doubt. And when kids melt down in public or, refuse to attend class at the entrance of class, you're embarrassed. And oftentimes all these emotions and within us actually comes out as anger, as harshness, as sadness. These are very common struggles that I face.
I mean, even as you are describing, I am reminded of my own struggles, right, with my own strong-willed child. And I do recall, those frequent meltdowns, very difficult to calm down. As you mentioned, like being in a public space, wow, makes it even more worse, right? Like you're trying to find a hole to hide in, but yet you have to kind of contain the situation.
Yes.
And you have to be that adult presence, that calm presence in your child's life, right? I mean, in this equation, if it's just you and your child, you are the adult here and you're meant to be the one staying in control.
Yeah.
But often it's so hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm wondering if you have any strategies on how to kind of keep your own lid, right?
I think that I've tried many things and done many things, but first of all, I need to say that I am in no way a perfect parent. I have not figured this out.
There is no such thing.
Yeah, we continue to have power struggles. There continues to be some uncontrolled behavior. I continue to face self-doubt, and we make mistakes. And I always ask myself, did I do the right thing in this situation? And I think the second thing I want to say before I share any things that we've done is actually there's no one size fits all solution. Every child is different. Every parent is different. These are just some things that I have tried that helps me. Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, but they've been helpful. So I think the first thing that I want to share is to remember the big picture. I think oftentimes when we get locked in power struggles with kids, we are like, do what I say. Because this is how many of us were parented. You do what you are told, right? You don't question, children should just follow instructions, right? But kids nowadays are not really like that. And all the more strong-willed children are more not like that. So remembering the big picture reminds us that the strong-willed children will question why. Why do we have these rules? Why must I do it this way? And so we need to remember the big picture, remember the whys, the whats, so that it can help us to be flexible in the scenario. So to give you an example, back to the swimming class, right? If I remember why do we go for swim class? The goal is to learn how to swim. So actually, if he skips one swim class out of 6, it's actually okay. He'll still learn how to swim. Of course, at the back of my mind, I'm thinking it costs money, you're wasting my time. But what is the big picture? The big picture is I want him to learn how to swim. I want him to have a good time and gain confidence in this. And so I can exercise that flexibility that, okay, it's okay if you're very tired today and you can skip. Or, sometimes he doesn't even have to give me the reason and say, I just need some time to rest today. And I have learned to be okay with it, right? So being flexible with that. Or another example of how I have learned to be flexible is getting homework done. Especially when they reach the older age group, they have homework to be done, right? And I'm like, okay, my goal is to make sure he gets his homework done. It's very easy to get into a power struggle about homework. Do it now so that I know it's done and I don't have to worry about it for the rest of the day. Show it to me when I can check. But sometimes they want to rest first. They want to play first. So remembering the big picture that my goal is to let him get his homework done means that I can be flexible, that he can play some computer first before he does his work, or he can take a rest as long as he gets his homework done. So that is the first thing, remembering the big picture.
So remembering the big picture and also staying flexible, right? As you mentioned, not insisting on homework being done at your time, your pace, but just giving him some wiggle room, I guess.
Yes.
Our kids also have a full day of class. They may come home feeling like they really just want to let loose.
Yes.
Right? And do something that they enjoy for a bit. I'm wondering if this process also includes checking in on how he feels or giving him room to think about how do you want to plan this then?
This one, I guess, it comes with specific strategies. And I think the second big overarching strategy that helped me in managing them is to get help. Yeah. So, all these things about letting them choose and have autonomy about how to plan their time and having discussions beforehand, or how to regulate your emotions, or even being able to articulate, I need a rest today. Can I not attend class? All this comes with having learned how to do it. And at the start, I didn't know how to do all this, hence all the power struggles, right? And so, as parents, we have to learn how to deal with this situation in the way that best suits our personality, our child's personality, and that we can have the big picture of having a great relationship with our child, letting them learn and grow into positive, contributing members of society and things like that. Yeah, so getting help, learning, listening to this podcast and other things. We've been to emotional regulation classes for him. I've had counseling sessions, parenting counseling sessions. Focus has got tons of programs, and there are lots out there. Instagram, other podcasts, books. There's so much information out there, and we have to learn. And I remember when my child went for this emotional regulation class, my friends asked me, "Oh, but he's okay, what?" Most of the time when some people see him, he seems fine. Like, do you really have to go for this class? And I was thinking to myself, people spend money on art classes, on the child's hobbies, on computer coding, I don't know, sport. If my child seems to be having a difficult time managing how he's feeling and expressing it, and it's making my home a little bit more stressful, I should be willing to spend money on this too, all the more to equip him with the skills on how to manage it for himself. And this was when the child was quite young, like in lower primary. I think getting help and realizing it's okay. Yeah, we all need help. We are not perfect. There's so many things we don't know. We're all first-time parents. Yeah, there's so many things that we don't know how to do, and there's so many things that we can learn.
Yeah.
So I think that really, really helped me.
I really love this mindset, this growth mindset, actually, that you just talked about. It's about not just giving the child the skills that you may have seen and noticed a gap in, but it's also about ourselves, right? Like giving ourselves some help, some new handles, learning some new tips.
Yes.
And thanks for doing a plug for like some of our programs. It kind of reminds me of my own parenting journey as well. Like starting out, you learn about how to care for a baby. Then as you move on, then it's like, how to manage like maybe academic stresses or some of these coping skills, right? Managing skills on one's emotions, expressing one's needs respectfully, like you said. Yeah, all these things are actually skills that are so necessary for life.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it's not just to help us tide through this rough patch, right? But I would say it actually helps them to move forward in their own lives. And it's something that they can use for their own relationships and friendships in the future.
Yes. So I find that lately, sometimes my kids will ask me, "Oh, how are you feeling, Mom?" I was like, wow, because we've talked about this at home and, we've done different things, they can actually check in on my emotions and how I'm doing and why I'm feeling a particular way. And
That's
then I
so
think,
encouraging.
yeah. And then maybe one last thing that really helped me in managing strong-willed children is disengage. Know when to disengage. When you're locked in a power struggle and you really feel like your heckles rising and your volume rising and you're going to lose control, you're going to shout for the next 15, 20 minutes nonstop. You know it in your body, right? I have learned to say, I'm feeling really upset right now. I'm just going to go to my room and just disengage, because I know what is going to come out of my mouth after that. It's not going to help the power struggle. It's not going to convince the child to do what I want him to do. It's just not very helpful. So to disengage and to say, stop and wait until I'm calm again, and then we can re-engage and address it again. And in the process, if the homework doesn't get done, remember the big picture. It's one day of homework in, I don't know how many days of school they had, 300? I don't know. But
You don't want to know, actually.
Yeah, I know. It's just one day of homework. It'll be fine.
And that speaks so much about the importance of self-care, right? Self-care for ourselves as carers of our kids, and also self-awareness.
Yes.
Actually knowing when we are kind of nearing our tipping point already.
Yes.
And taking that step to like, hey, I can give myself permission to just chill a little bit and to take care of myself.
Yes.
Right, before I can step back in and deal with the situation. That's so good. Thanks for sharing your tips, Sue. I can see that you've really come some way in raising your strong-willed child and also in your whole parenting journey. Now, often the conversation about strong-willed children center around the difficulties that we tend to experience, the struggles, the power struggles, and so on. Could you also share some ways we could look at their traits in a positive light? What are some strengths that they have that we can also call out, encourage them with, and even help them to develop further?
I love this question because I think that when we get into struggles and fights, we tend to form negative thought patterns about kids. He's always like that. Oh no, it's homework time again. We get into a lot of negative thoughts about it. And so talking about their strengths really forces us to check our narrative. What is our child really like? So there's this interesting exercise that someone recommended. In one column, you write down all the difficult traits of your child, and on the other column, you flip it and write a positive side, right? So let me give you an example. Like your child is really stubborn, always saying no to you, right? So the positive flip side will be they're persistent. I mean, just think about it. Thomas Edison must have been super persistent to develop the light bulb, right? He must have had just one idea that he did not want to let go of. Can you imagine the mess after all his failed experiments?
I cannot imagine being his mom.
I know, he was probably a bit older then, but still, it's that kind of persistence that you need. Or if your child is very argumentative, wow, behind that lies a very rational child, a brave child who would actually speak up unafraid in a situation, even in authority, who will stand up. Wow, you got a future human rights lawyer here. And so you got to think positively. Oh, your child is whining all the time, whole day whinging, whining. You say, please stop, please stop. You've got a really expressive child who can be creative, and come up with new things. Just imagine all the different genres of art that have come up with people who did not want to let go of their ideas and express in a different way from other people. So I think that there are many, many positive traits that can be. And the funny thing is sometimes, when I'm doing this, like I wonder whether my parents thought that I was a strong-willed child. It's like because all of the positive traits also have a negative flip side. So it's how we perceive it, how we think and speak of our kids can shape their behaviors and aspirations. If we keep thinking, oh, you're such a stubborn child, you're such a stubborn child, and we say you're a stubborn child, they're going to grow into that. But, if we change our thinking and our language a little bit and we say, oh, what a persistent child, you never give up, even when things are hard. And we begin to shape the aspirations of what can be in the future, even though it can be very hard now.
That's such a powerful reframe. Really reminds me of the power that we wield in our words, in our thoughts about our children. Right? And if we have this power, then how much more should we then try to use it wisely, use it for their good, right?
Yeah. But I must say I've said many bad things lah.
I'm sure we have thought and said many bad things, but at the same time, it's about coming to that place of recognition.
Yes.
Yeah, that this child is a unique human being.
Yeah.
Right?
We're always on a journey, you see, and I think we can always restart with our kids. Disengage, engage again.
I think that's a really useful tip. And as you were sharing about writing the 2 columns, it kind of reminded me of how I came to see one of my children slightly differently when actually his godmother came to tell me about a particular strength that he actually showed, when he was playing in her house. And I think I really cherish all this feedback, right, from other people who come to tell us how great your child is. And you're like, are you talking about the same child? But yes, it really shows how much we have to grow as well as in our journey as parents, how much we can learn from other people, how much we can learn in this journey of, just self-awareness as well as awareness of our child's strengths and weaknesses. So thanks so much, Sue-Ann, for spending time with us, sharing with us your experience. It must not have been easy, right? I can hear from your sharing as well. But I think as you talked about some of those helpful strategies you employed, some of those detaching, disengaging for the moment, and also coming back with a fresh perspective, picking up helpful tips from other places, yeah, it really shows how much you have grown, I'm sure, as a mother.
Yes. I hope my kids say I've grown too. It's a journey. We're all journeying with them.
I'm sure they will. Before you go, do you have any last words of advice or encouragement for parents who are listening in to this episode and feeling like, yeah, I don't know what to do with my strong-willed child?
I've had many of those days. Sometimes I just sit in my car and cry, because you're just overwhelmed by what might be the things you have to do, and you don't know if you're doing the right thing. But if you're feeling a little bit like you're struggling, I just want to say that you are the best parent for your child. You're doing the best you can because we love our kids. They've been given to you and you are really the best. There's no one who would do it better.
Well said. I'm sure our listeners also feel encouraged by that. So thank you so much once again for spending time with us. And to our listeners out there, we trust that you have enjoyed this episode and picked up a few tips for your own parenting journey. For more parenting resources, do visit our website at family.org.sg, and do keep tuning in to the Parentnet podcast to learn and grow in your parenting journey.